Hi guys, and welcome back here to the Dev Realm. And today we're going to be carrying on our series. And if you guys remember what we did in the last episode is that we started to finish off the button. And basically what we're going to be doing here today is that we're going to change, we're going to create a new component that will apply the reusable button into a master parent component that will integrate that for us here. Right, so I had a problem in the previous video where my microphone wasn't capturing, so I basically recorded the whole lesson without having a proper microphone. So what I'm going to be doing here is that I'm just going to basically duplicate what I did, and then I explain step by step how I duplicated that. All right, so let's do it. Let's start it. So as you guys remember, you have a created here. We had input that had all those buttons normally added here. So I'm just gonna revert it to whatever we had here before, which is basically we had can I search for the Roboto? So we had this Roboto text. What is it here? Let me just revert it to the way it was. Anyway, so if you guys have it, this object here like I had it before, right? When you click on the ears here, what you can do is that you're just gonna go back here to the font family and make sure you search for your current font, the one you selected, the one we imported. Now make sure that also the color, you can change to whatever color you want. I'm just gonna leave it like this yellow color. I don't like to leave white because it doesn't look good. I'm just gonna leave this color that I have here right now. And on the search box, I'm going to search for outline. Now that I have searched for outline, I can basically change the size from 0 to 1 or to 2 to whatever you want. I'm just going to leave to 1 now because it looks a little bit better. And I'm going to do the same for the ears where it says red. And I'm going to make sure everything is aligned to the center. All right? And make sure you just change the fonts. Take your time to do this. Once you got all that's ready, all that stuff ready, what we're going to do here is that from the parent of our box here, I'm going to right click and I'm going to copy, right? I'm going to compile and save this for now. But anyway, I already have created the component that I'm going to be using here, which is called the user selection. It has everything that I need, but I'm going to create one from scratch because I had a problem with recording the video. So I'm just going to create it one from scratch, right? So now that I have this one right here, the user, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to the widgets where I have the character creation widget. I'm going to create a new folder called component. So just go ahead, right click, and you create component. Once you have that created, you're going to open up the folder and you're going to create here your widget. On my case, I'm going to create a new widget with you guys together. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to go back to the widget user interface. I'm going to call this, oh, sorry, that's the wrong one. I want to create a user interface, widget blueprint. Make sure you use the user widget. I'm going to call this WBP selection control. All right, now I'm going to save. I'm going to open up this, and now you should have a blank widget. Just write this. Great. Now the next thing I want to do here is that I want to right click and I want to add a blueprint, and you're going to click on the enumeration. All right. Basically, if you don't know what's enumerator, basically is a way for us to get away from text or strings, because I wanted to make this framework as reusable and nice as possible. So I'm just gonna create using as a enumerator. So after we can do a switch case and proper define, because what I want to do is that I want to create one event that fire multiple things. So you don't have to keep importing multiple events. I'll show you as I started to develop that. So you're going to create an enumerator, and you're going to have basically page empty like this, right? So on my case, I created this one here. I'm gonna keep using that, but on your case, you just type E dash, the name of the event is the E, it stands for enumerator, and I am gonna call this selection click. Okay, I already have one created, so I'm not gonna create that. Okay, but when you open up the selection click, you are gonna have blank, and everything here is gonna be blank. All right, let me just create another one to show you how it's gonna look like. So everything's gonna be blank. And now you probably wonder, okay, but how can I add one? So you're just gonna click on the add enumerator. You're gonna add 2, all right? And you are just gonna add, I'm just gonna delete this here because I don't need it anymore. On the select, the one you just created, you're gonna add 2. You're gonna add left and you're gonna add right, okay? Now that you've done this, you can close that. And on our selection widget control, the one we just created, what we can do is that we can go back to our character control, right? We're gonna right click here. We're gonna press copy. We're gonna go back to the widget we just created. And remember, right? Pay attention to this. That widget that we created is this one that I'm talking about, is right on that folder right here, right? Inside the widget components, the one we just created right now. Now, let me just go back here. We're gonna right click, and we're gonna press paste. Now, we have this funny widget right here with box and label and blah, 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 blah. Right. Now, I'm just gonna go back here to the view size. I'm gonna put custom. Just gonna put the width to 200, just so we have some space. And there's a couple of things here, guys, that you have to pay attention when you're doing this, which is basically we need to make sure we have the title changeable, and we have the label changeable, and we can register the events for the left and the right, so we can send only one event to the front end, so to our parent component. So when we use this, we can just call one event to do 2 things. Right, so now I'm gonna click on the ears, and I'm gonna call this label. So I already have the name label, which is great. On this text, I'm gonna give the name of title. I already have the name of title, but just go ahead and make it sure it's title. And now let's do some changes. So let's create here a couple of events. First one, custom event, API, set label, not label, label. And that one, we're basically gonna get the label. I'm gonna set the text right here. And I'm gonna promote this to a text label. And when we call the event, we're just gonna do that. We're just passing through the text. That's all we gotta do. Now I'm gonna basically create the same event API to the set title, right? Exactly the same thing. We're gonna get the title, we're gonna set text. Now we're gonna plug this one right here. We're gonna promote this to a variable called text or title, text, title. Plug it right there. This is gonna go right here, right there. Great. Everything's gonna be aligned properly. Everything's gonna be here. Right. We're gonna compile and save that. And on the event pre-construct, we're just gonna call the API set label and API set title. Nice. Now for the text, we're gonna put the text variable, and for the title, we're gonna put the title. Sorry, for the label here. Now make sure the both title and text are both set as public, and make sure you set the expose on spawn. All right. Now give them some values. So this I'm just gonna give the default text as label, and this I'm gonna just call this test title. Now look how cool is this. If I go back to the designer and I press compile, it already changed for us, right? You see that it's setting the label that's using probably the wrong one. It should be using the text title. There we go. Nice. Now we have everything more or less set up here, right? Got everything done properly, which is great. Don't worry about this. That's fine. It's just that's our test title. I'm just gonna write that again and say just say test. Right. The next thing we're gonna do here is that I want to make sure that we send only one event with 2 actions, so it's easy for us to control that. Right. So to do that, we are gonna get our 2 buttons here. We got left action and we got the right action, right? If you haven't renamed those buttons, I recommend it to rename the left action BTN and right action BTN. Make sure each variable is marked. Otherwise, you won't be able to see that when you're trying to play with the events, right? So what we're going to do here is that something very similar to what we did before, which is trigger event, but this time we're just going to use, we're going to send using the enum that we created. Right, so next thing now that we have to do here is that we're going to go back to the graph mode. We're going to get both left and the right action. And if you guys remember properly, on those buttons, we have events that we can bind. So bind event to button click. So we can plug it right there. And that's the same for the right button, right? Right, cool. Just in case you guys got lost, and if you have no idea what I'm talking about, like where those events are coming from, how is all this stuff tied together, let me just refresh your memory, right? So you guys remember, let me just compile my project. Don't worry about this error. So you guys remember that we created components as button, right? So if I right click on this button and edit widget blueprint, if I go back to the graph, I have here EV button click. So that is the event that we're trying to click. So that's basically what we are trying to make the user work properly. All right. So what we are gonna do right now is that we need to make sure that the button here, that the BTN that we created, it works properly. So I'm gonna close this for now. And the next thing I am going to do here, right, is that I am going to go to the, what is it? I'm going to go back to the box, no, to this event here where we're trying to bind everything, right? It's going to go back to the graph. And I'm going to create here a custom event. I'm going to call API. So left action click. I'm going to copy and paste, and I'm going to call here API right action click. And basically, what I'm going to try to do here is that I'm just going to create a new event dispatcher. And this event dispatcher is going to call EV. And this is going to be called, so event dispatcher, user selection. I think that's a better name. Now here we need to add a parameter, and here's gonna be the event, right? What's the event? And you guys remember that we created a widget, right? Sorry, we created a enum. So I'm gonna call this e selection click right here. E dash selection click. Now, what I can do here is that I can try now to basically call the button that. Just gonna put everything right here, right? And when you click on this button, we want to call the left, And when we click on this button, we want to call the event right? Now make sure everything's aligned. Great. Just gonna put it here. Now you just need to do this, and you just need to do that, right? We can compile and we can save this, which is great. Now look how cool is this, right? We have created now this component selection here, right? This is the one I just created, and this is the one I had it before, right? But let's use the one I just created. I'm gonna even delete the one I created before because I don't need it. I just recreate the widget anyway. Now I'm gonna go back to my main widget. I'm gonna open up that, and here I can select my box, and I'm just gonna replace that with a widget I created. All right. I'm gonna make sure that this it's aligned on the center, and I can change here to basically say, let's say WBP ear, or maybe I can call this hair selection. All right. Now for the label, we're gonna just put hair. The test, we're just gonna leave it here. We're probably gonna say something like hair 01 or something. I don't know how I'm gonna do this yet, but we're just probably gonna do something like this. Now let's try, guys, if those events are binded properly, right? And the way that we know if the events are bind properly is very simple, very easy to do. We're gonna go back here to the graph, right? We're gonna get our hair selection tool here, right? And when we construct, we're gonna call the bind event on EV user selection. And this event now is gonna have a couple of cool things. So if I had a custom event, I'm gonna call this selection, and just call event selection. This is just a test. We're probably gonna change the name of this. And right now, I just want to basically register if the player clicked on the right or left. So I'm just gonna get the event, and I'm just gonna go to string, enum to string, and then I'm gonna plug it right there. Okay. I'm gonna compile and save. And if we did everything right, that should be left, and this should be right. And look at this, guys. So I think that's everything I wanted to cover for this lesson. Thank you very much for watching. I know that this video got a little bit different just because I had a problem during the recording, but I appreciate the patience. But the next one, we're gonna probably start to do also the other components for the inputs and the buttons. So once again, thank you very much for watching, and I see you in the next one.